It is great to be joined today by the CEO and co-founder of Ubex, Artem Chestnov. Today we are going to be talking about really an issue in an industry that we deal with all the time, Artem, because of the work that we do. And Ubex is working within the space of internet advertising, programmatic internet advertising, and it's really, a lot of people aren't even aware of actually what's going on within this industry. So maybe just to begin with, tell us a little bit about the problem you identified within the industry.
Yes, so good afternoon, good morning, depending where you are. So right now, the industry is actually full of unsolved issues, and one of them is the quality of targeting, as the quality of understanding who your clients are. And second big issue is related to an amount of fraud that exists between the different industry players. Right now, there is around 45% of fraud if you calculate in terms of budget spent. Yes, plus there is a whole number of other topics related again to trust and to quality of understanding who your clients are and how to target them.
Yeah, and a lot of these problems might be sort of difficult for the end user to even understand, because for the end user, what we're often experiencing is ads that seem completely irrelevant to what our interests would be, and sometimes ads that sort of don't fit with the format of the content that we're trying to consume. So if you're trying to watch a 30-second viral video, for example, having to sit through a 60-second ad just kind of doesn't make sense. Along the same lines, the content of the advertising may be completely untargeted. So can you talk now, focusing in on the end user, what are the problems for the end user as a result of the targeting of advertising on the internet?
Yes, for the end user, he is forced to see a lot of advertisement that is not actually for him. So in result, he receives much more messages than he could alternatively get. Yes, so we're daily exposed to hundreds of messages that we should not see. So we have a lot of information rumor.
It seems to me that a lot of that is bad, not only for the end user, but it's also bad for the advertiser, right? Because number one, the more fatigued that a end user is by untargeted ads and irrelevant ads, once they finally see the ad that is actually a good match for them, it seems to me that they would already be sort of fatigued from the number of ads they've seen and actually less likely to act on the targeted ad. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, because our scope of attention is limited. Yes, and the fresher we are for the right ad as a user, the best the perception of the advertisement.
Okay, so let's
Yes,
talk a little bit about programmatic advertising. I very often will get messages from people who say, David, you know, you have a progressive YouTube channel, for example, and all of these very conservative right-wing advertisers are appearing before your videos. It doesn't make sense. Most of your advertisers are on the left and you're getting ads targeted to people on the right. And what I explain to people is that the ad buying decisions aren't being made at the channel level. In other words, an advertiser is saying, buy politics, and it might be left-wing politics, it might be right-wing politics, but it's not targeted to that degree. And this relates to what's called programmatic advertising. Can you talk a little bit about how that works?
Yes, this is not just about right-left wings or systems like that, but it's more about real identification of who the current user is, who is viewing you right now, and also what kind of things they would be open to buy now or get now. What kind of information would they be open to now? And in many cases, it's really not easy to make that programming and to make that matching. Yes, in most of the cases today, this matching is done on very, very basic levels. Something like sex and location. Yes, maybe sometimes a bit more than that. And this is already called programmatic. While we know that it is possible with modern technology to go much more forward and to do a much better matchmaking.
Sometimes I realize that there's sort of a conflict between the priorities of the end user, because on the one hand, you have people who are frustrated by an online experience where they see irrelevant ads. At the same time, you have people that are often frustrated or angry by the amount of data that is available about them on the internet, which of course can be used, among other things, to target ads in a more efficient way. So is there a way to solve the problem of irrelevant ad targeting without making people feel as though they're sort of sacrificing when it comes to privacy?
Actually, this really depends on the amount of data that is available and also the technology you use. Yes, when you use a technology like artificial intelligence, for example, you don't always need a lot of data about one particular person. Because actually, through the AI, you can understand a person better than this person, maybe even better than this person knows himself or herself, by using just very few sets of information about him. By, for example, just knowing the way he spells certain words, yes, or by knowing a number of specific actions that he's taken.
Can you give an
Yes.
example of that one? That's not one I'm familiar with. So can you give an example of how, on the basis of how someone spells a word, how you might target an ad to them?
Yes, so what AI does, it sometimes finds connections between things that might not seem logically connected. Yes, and sometimes there are very clear patterns by, for example, the way how a person writes certain words or makes certain punctuation might be really linked to some cultural heritage of a person, plus some micro groups he's part of. Yes, plus his personal character. And if you just take logic, you will never get it. You will never understand that this person is from this particular type of a city, for example, or this particular group of interests. Yes, while by certain spelling and certain way the things that he puts and uses, you can get it. I can give you another example as well. For example, there is a direct link between the fact what a person changes to buy and some specific patterns of his behavior and specifics about him. For example, when a woman starts to buy more hypoallergenic stuff, it generally means that she might be pregnant and not just pregnant, but on second trimester of your pregnancy. Yes.
Yeah, I've actually read about some of these, that how there are actually internet searches where seemingly unrelated internet searches. So it might be, this is just an example, right? If you, over the course of 3 months, regularly search for a particular information about a particular type of skin rash, in addition to, you know, whatever, some type of cream and some third thing, there is a very good chance you should be screened, for example, for a particular medical condition, even though it might not be obvious from the individual searches what that condition might be. This is the type of AI learning that you're talking about, right?
Yes, actually what AI does, it sometimes finds patterns where just simple logic cannot find them.
Yeah,
yes,
that's, I think, the best way to put it. So let's talk a little bit about Ubex. So we've gotten off onto a very interesting conversation about AI, but to talk about what Ubex does, you've identified this problem within the ad space. What is the solution that you are looking to build here?
So what we are making, we are using the consumer behavioral data and giving it to the neural network. which is one of the types of AI. And then the neural network does the right targeting to show to consumers the ad it has the highest chances to take an action about. So not just to click, because sometimes we click the thing that we just like, yes, but we have no intention to buy this. But the ad where we have the highest chances of action, like a purchase, for example, and then we match this kind of experience to the needs of advertiser to for this action to be made, plus to the need of a publisher to have that particular advertisement space on his particular website. And then after we match all the three elements together, we have an ad with the highest chances of an action shown to the right consumer at the right website.
And can you talk a little bit about the right website component of it? Because that's interesting. There might be, for example, a demographic like men aged, 25 to 35, who when shown ads for a shoe website between 6 p.m. and 10 p.m. are very likely to make a purchase. But what you're saying is that that same ad shown to the men 25 to 35 between 6 and 10 p.m. might be more effective if shown to them, for example, if they're browsing clothing instead of browsing sporting equipment, just as a hypothetical example.
Yes, you're giving a very simple example. Actually, it's much more advanced than just that. Because additionally to that, he might be in different state of mood at that time.
Sure.
Yes, because this is one thing. Then additionally to this, he might be of completely different cultural heritage, meaning that he might like completely different type of shoes.
Sure.
Yes. And this all has to be taken into account as well. Yes, because you're right that time is important, but not only time is important, but much more than that. He might be looking for sports shoes, or he might be looking more highest chance to purchase right now sports shoes, or he might not even like purchasing shoes online because he likes to try them first in the shop. Yeah, and in that case, there is no need to show him an ad of a shoe shop.
Okay, so let's get into now the specifics of how Ubex works. I mean, a lot of these elements individually do exist already. So what is it that Ubex is offering sort of comprehensively or in total?
Yes, so what we are doing, we are combining the three existing elements. But none before us has actually combined all the three together, which are neural networks, analysis for targeting. Second, CPA, meaning cost per action system, where we trace actions only. And third, smart contracts to ensure that these actions are really traced and these actions really lead to payments from advertisers to publishers. So again, neural network, paper action, and smart contracting.
So how do you address privacy concerns? Because, of course, it sounds fantastic to the extent that you won't have to see irrelevant ads. The publishers you want to support maybe will also make more money from working with your ad network versus another ad network. There's very clear ways in which everybody wins on the surface. But what about the privacy concerns around the data?
Yes, so actually, this is a very complex issue. And point number one, some of the browsers support the function of accepting exchanging the data. Some of them don't. Yes, so in some cases, users can voluntarily share the data. Yes. Second thing, this really is very dependent on the country where a person is located, because what we deal with is the data from the publisher. And all of the data is stored on the side of publishers, and in some of the countries, there are, let's say, less privacy concerns than in other countries, like in Europe, where recently there was a new legislation about the topic. And finally, even in the countries where there are concerns about the privacy, it's about the amount of data. It's not about the existence of data. Just in such situation, less data is available, meaning that the targeting can be done not as good as in countries or websites or browsers where this data is not available. On our side, we do not store consumer data. Yes, we're just using the data that is currently available to a publisher.
Understood. Let's talk a little bit about the token if we can. Talk to us about the ICO and then also what the function of the token will be in the ad ecosystem that you're building.
Yes, so we have the token sale, meaning that we are selling the tokens which are needed for payments between advertisers and publishers. The type of the token is exactly a payment token according to the Swiss regulations, a country where we are based in. So it is a payment with some functionality of utility. It is not a security token because it's not used for that specific purpose. And as a payment token, as it comes from the name, it is used mainly to exchange funds between advertisers, publishers, and data providers.
As far as the ICO timeline, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, so we are finishing the token sale on August 13, unless we reach the hard cap before that. And there is a high chance that we make it before the final date, because right now, at the time of this interview, we are at 75% of the hard cap.
And as far as your timeline for the rest of 2018 and 2019 in terms of the platform rollout, what are the sort of highlights or key times?
Yes, so for the product rollout, we have launched in May this year the alpha version of the product. So the advertisement campaigns can be already made and targeting can be already done. In August, we are launching the second side of this platform aimed on publishers to also start the optimization of the advertisement spaces. Plus, tokens are appearing, meaning that tokens are appearing on August 13, meaning that payments are also becoming available to all of the parties. The next stage for us is deeper teaching of the neural network, because right now it is already being taught, but with a limited amount of data that was available so far. So the sophistication of the analysis will be going up in the coming months, with high and high level of targeting that can be done, and thus quality of paper result systems that is being implemented.
Super interesting. I'm going to be following this, and it is a space that directly affects what we do. I've been speaking with Artem Chasnov, who's the CEO and co-founder of Ubex. You can find out much more about Ubex using the links in the video description. Artem, thank you so much for talking to me today.
Thank you very much, and good luck with the next podcasts and interviews.